Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day, and check out our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And finally, check out our new Alter Sleeves. You get your custom sleeve image of the Magic Mics crew at altersleeves.com/magicmics. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hello, everybody.
Ruben Bressler.
Hi, happy Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Wednesday indeed. That said, we kick it off with our first pick, which we'll get to in just a second, and a giveaway. Get your chance at a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat, but subscribe first and get 2 chances to win. But don't forget our raid at the end of the show to support a member of the community. Enter your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. Now, it is important. We have been around. My God, are we almost to 6 years here?
6 years in May.
Wow, we're almost to 6 years. So in almost 6 years, you all, who we love and appreciate, have joined us here every Wednesday night. That's been a thing. It's in our life.
I don't think we were always Wednesday, were we?
We were
not always.
I think we started at like Tuesday,
and
then we
started
went to
on
Wednesday.
Tuesdays. Okay. We moved to Wednesdays. We've done some delayed shows.
Okay.
Right.
Or up in the week shows, especially around Thanksgiving or specific holiday stuff. Mm-hmm. But now, in general, it's been Wednesdays.
Yeah, so generally we've been doing that. Now, the thing is that Wizards has already staked where they want their news to come out, which is on Thursdays. And so oftentimes, and we've just, found this out the week before, we're kind of 6 days behind of the stuff that you really want to talk about, you'd really be interested in hearing our thoughts on. So to get that stuff Thursday night, Friday morning for the podcast listeners that has the most up-to-date information from Wizards officially, because Wizards is still going to give preview, things to various outlets, and they're still going to show up whenever, but from Wizards official leaks, not leaks, but official previews, we're able to be right behind them. So where the mothership leads, you should probably follow.
Yep. So starting next week,
we're
going to be Thursdays.
Goodness gracious. It's going to feel really weird next Wednesday. I'm not going to know what to do with myself.
Very strange.
I'm excited because I've been trying to get on the EDH Rec podcast, which is streaming right now. If you're not watching us, you should be watching them, or you can watch both. But the only thing that's kept me from being on that show is this show on Wednesdays. And so I'm looking forward to other opportunities.
Are you saying we're holding you back? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean,
she
knows.
We're just two dorks hanging out. It's fine.
We're small potatoes.
I'm the Beyonce, and you're the Michelle and Kelly.
Okay.
I see. So the first pick this week is that Time Spiral Remastered has officially been spoiled. All of the cards out there. It seems like an absolute home run product. This was, this was a question mark. They didn't know if it was going to work, if we're going to print a bunch of old expensive stuff and really packs that have a bunch of value stuck in them. And the real winner, the true winners of this set are the old bordered cards. All of those old bordered cards are worth really stupid amounts of money. The foils are worth stupid amounts of money because the foils only show up once in every 91 boxes. And that's flat for every single one of them because they're all on the same sheet and they're not collated anyway because that's why they have the old border. So the old border looked amazing. You should check out Gavin Verhey's 2.5 hour deep dive into the box opening where he cracks one of the sickest old frame foils I've ever seen. And so, yeah, it's legitimately awesome. And the old foils look incredible. And I just, it feels like they weren't really prepared for a market that was like, I need my remands in the old border.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, as somebody who plays a lot of Legacy and Vintage, there is an audience out there that will never buy a Magic card as long as it has the new frame there. And they say that every time a spoiler season comes around, every time a card makes its way into Vintage, people are like, I love this card, but I hate the frame. And, if you give these people these frames, they're going to shell out for them. And it doesn't even have to be foil. The last time I looked, non-foil Ponders were $40. And it was just like, my goodness. And so they're doing a really good job of tapping into a demographic that would normally never raise an eyebrow at a product release, but they are all in for this, let me tell you.
Right.
I mean,
you're getting old bordered young pyromancers, abrupt decays, ponders, Primeval Titans, even, you're getting cards that you want to, not to mention Thoughtseize and Chalice of the Void, right?
Exactly.
Where these are eternal staples that the people want to have.
Yep.
All of their cards match in some way, shape, or form, and that means the old border. And this, I can't believe that this is snuck up on people.
Yeah, they did a very good job at selecting cards that they knew this audience would want. Dreadhorde Arcanist, Lavinia, Hollow One, Prized Amalgam, the Paradoxical Outcome, which I might have mentioned. Right, Waste, Chalice of the Void. I mean, they knew who wanted these cards. It was sort of like a dog whistle, if you will, and people are running.
I mean, but it also worked out really well. Like, for example, Waste is a $10 land from this set, which is incredible, and it looks amazing. But, it's made that way because Time Spiral sort of gave them that out of the time-shifted sheet. That was the whole point. Back in the day, they were already in the old borders that they were putting in the time-shifted spots, so who cares? Now, all these new cards that are super cool will look way different and better, but they also have that set up as Time Spiral was existing. So if they were to go to Innistrad, there was no weird thing they did in Innistrad to print old cards. They go back to Ravnica, there was no weird thing to print old cards. They put shock lands in it, sure. They figure out ways to get fetch lands and Zendikar sets, but there's nothing that was sort of built in the way that this was. So it's very much lightning in a bottle in that sense, but like for me, there's 100% going to be more remastered sets. This is just the beginning. More older cool cards, more older cool sets, more older cool formats with really cool touch-ups and different versions and special whatevers. And if they literally just print the same amount that they did from Time Spiral Remastered, it's going to be a freaking winner because it's selling out everywhere.
Now here's my conspiracy theory. You ready? All right. They printed a cycle of common lands in this set from different cycles from all over history. They have Bojuka Bog. They have Mystic Sanctuary.
Right.
And then
I don't know her. I don't.
No, that's fair. Then they also printed Ancient Den.
Yes.
Now, they're going to unban only Ancient Den in Modern.
They're not.
Only Ancient Den. Give us one. Free the Den. I've moved on from Free the Tree.
I wish.
I think we can get one Den.
I've said before that I think Modern was at its best when Affinity was legal. When you had Gimme Ornithopter, Cranial Plating, Ethereal Champion, or just, Etch Champion, I'm sorry, just sneezing out your hand. Like, I loved Modern then. And maybe it's just rose-colored glasses.
And then we get to play Dispatch or Tempered Steel, maybe.
Yeah.
I would say to those who, you're fortunate enough that you can afford a box of Time Spiral Remastered, you're fortunate if you can open all of it as you please. And let's say you're fortunate enough to open a super cool foil and it's worth $300-something. Well, one argument would be that you should get it graded. Well, the other half of that argument is that graded services right now are completely inundated with, honestly, a year's worth of work at this point. Their fees all doubled just the other day, like a couple weeks ago. Their fees doubled.
What does it cost to get something rated like that? I've always wondered.
Well, here's the thing. They rate it based on how expensive the object is going to be after it's graded. So they'll want to, if it's going to be worth $10K, you're going to be paying probably $300 to $500. If it's going to be worth $1K,
just to
you
get
might.
It graded.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Because it jacks the price up at that point. And the company is never going to touch it again. You kind of got what you need out of them. So they and it wasn't always that way. It's sort of gotten that way as time has gone on because graded stuff is just stupidly expensive. Let's move on here to speaking of stupidly expensive, Modern Horizons 2 is coming. Now, Modern Horizons 1, famously, Aaron mentioned, had very little hope in Modern and was going to do very little with that format. It was trash, clearly. And 5 bannings later, it's cool.
We're still cleaning up the mess from the first Modern Horizons. I wonder what's going to be different.
The cards in Modern Horizons 1 made 5.0 lists.
God, this is
so.
Yeah, this is just sort of like a weird study in rate where Wizards is just like, how can we keep giving you better stuff at better rates and you be like still excited about it, considering all the old stuff is stupidly powerful. But either way, Modern Horizons 2 is coming, whether we like it or not, and it's going to throw out some crazy powerful cards and throwbacks and whatever, and it's going to have set boosters, and it's going to have collector boosters. And let me tell you what, set boosters are being pushed so hard by Wizards right now. It is ridiculous. There are no buy a box promos that you can pre-order that aren't set boosters. And once it comes to Modern Horizons 2, same thing. Now, there are draft boosters. They do exist. You can get them on the day of release. But if you're going to pre-order a box that you pick up at the pre-release, that box is going to be a set booster box, despite the fact that stores have told Wizards over and over again they want draft boosters. We want draft boosters. Cool Stuff wants them. Other stores want them. This isn't just like one random store in Florida who's pissed off about it. Lots of store owners want draft boosters, and Wizards is like, look, we're going to let the market decide. You can only sell set boosters, but we're going to let the market decide. And it's like, you're putting your finger on the scale and then telling me that it's the wrong weight. Like, that's not how we're supposed to be doing this. I understand that they like set boosters. Clearly it's less packs. There's a guaranteed foil. It's more in line with other card games. And I'm not saying it wasn't even a good product to make, but forcing stores to be like, it is set boosters or get out. Like, that's a serious
noteworthy
problem.
Because there's also going to be pre-release kits. I don't think there was for the first Modern
There was
Horizons.
not. There's going to be pre-release kits for this too. So that's also interesting. And
many ways to get cards. And also, will there be pre-release stamped foils with the date on Modern Horizons 2 cards?
Yes. Interesting.
So you'll get a stamped foil, or that'll be a foil rare, which will be great. But there's also going to be collector boosters. Remember that in Double Masters, the $100 VIP packs replaced the collector booster. They're doing a collector booster for Modern Masters. That thing is going to be like $400 to $500. It's
crazy.
It's going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Per pack.
I mean, per pack, it's going to be like $40. Like a good 40 probably. I'm not sure yet, but that's kind of how it would be trending. The weird, like, Wizards doesn't have MSRPs anymore. They got rid of MSRPs years ago. And they just we're just going to price the product. And so, like, Time Spiral Remastered is not as expensive as Modern Horizons, but it's more expensive than a standard set. Those cards aren't magical or made by better materials, certainly, that we talk about in the pre-show. They have no,
Well, we know they're not made by better materials because we're still seeing pictures of the foils curling.
They pringle just like you're used to.
I mean, they have no initiative to change that because y'all keep buying everything.
That's what it is.
But, again, they price it however they want to. Oh, my Lord. We're really going to see what happens with the market with Modern Horizons 2. This is
we're already seeing it with
glut.
Commander. I went to build a Commander deck the other day, and I've always fancied myself a budget player, and my threshold for budget has had to increase because even cards that I thought that used to be you could get for $1 or less. I mean, Wayfarer's Bauble is now $3 or $4, which is largely in part to Commander's Quarters really promoting it, but it's getting harder and harder to find budget Commander options because everything is going up.
Yeah, it's a lot. So either way, again, Wizards is just they're finding saturation points, and I'm not sure we've gotten there yet. I mean, you say that there's so much and it's an endless torrent of blah blah. Well, the endless torrent keeps selling all the time. All right, let's move on here to the historic anthology. It's time for the Magic Arena section where Aaron enjoys it the most.
I got my bag of peach rings right here.
There you go. It's fairly short. Beginning March 11th, there's going to be a new historic anthology where you can pay them about, I don't know, it's a little over $20 to get a full playset of all the new cards. In particular, some important ones are Declaration in Stone and Thraben Inspector. They finally put Adorned Pouncer. I don't know why in the world that wasn't in the Amonkhet remastered set.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Really strange. Merit Lage's Slumber shows up from Modern Horizons. That card's going to do silly stuff.
Yeah. Isn't Death Shadow in this too?
Well,
Death Shadow is the headliner.
That's the big headliner. Is Death Shadow is at the very, very bottom of the list, but could be one of the most important ones. Also, Harmless Offering is a card that people are excited about to do stupid things like with Demonic Pact and stuff.
Someone tell Chris Patello.
You take it. Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of stuff like I'm sure someone's going to build an inspiring statuary, something.
Right. I'm not sure who was asking for Sword of Body and Mind, but who was asking for Sword of Body and Mind? For real. Who hurt you? Why did you do this? That's the sword you chose of all the swords.
No.
Okay.
Look, sometimes you take the sword you can get. Am I right, ladies?
Hey-o. And Iceberg Cankrix shows up as another crab that's going to mill things because we want more of that in our lives.
Yeah, but this one's fine. It's two mana. It mills 2 cards. Right. Doesn't really matter. This card's fine.
It's okay. It is new cards for Historic. Historic is a super fun format with all sorts of crazy stuff going on. And if you like it, you're going to enjoy it. There's spider spawning coming. That's cool. Very nice.
For limited. Get that limited environment.
Get you. All right, so there is going to be a Magic Online Championship Series broadcast. This is for the 2019? 2020.
I can't.
Is this for the 2020?
No, this is for 2020 MOCS.
Okay, it's for the 2020
Season
MOCS.
2.
Okay.
Finals.
Sure. Okay. There's showcases or something.
I can't be bothered.
I can't figure out what's going on here. I'll be honest. And look, it's giving away a whole bunch of money. 70 grand is going to be given away this weekend. Randy Bueller is going to be doing some casting on it. You can find him at rbueller on Twitter to find the coverage of that stuff. If you like the older formats, here we go. This is big money, big coverage. They got big names that are going to be on the coverage. This isn't like just some people you might have heard of. And this is
Pro
Patrick
Tour
Sullivan.
winners. Antonio Del Morel Leon and Dylan Donegan are in this.
Coverage wise, Emma's coming back. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, LSV. Anurag Das, who we know from the Legacy scene. This looks stacked.
Absolutely. So it looks like a cool event. If that is your bag, you can check that out. Move on here to Origins 2021, the Origins Game Fair. Now, this is kind of where we're at right now with conventions, is everyone's kind of holding their breath. Everyone's like, we're not sure when we should hold it. You probably shouldn't hold anything through July. San Diego Comic-Con already canceled for this year. But like once you're into December, November, maybe even as far back as October, and even as far back as September here for Origins, they want to have Origins 2021 September 30th through October 3rd later this year.
I don't know. And in Wisconsin, we're known for a series of lakeside festivals. Like we're known for a big event called Summerfest, and then we have Pride Fest, which is obviously our Pride celebration. And then we have a series of ethnic festivals like Festa Italiana, Festa Mexicana, things like that. Most of those, I believe, have already been canceled already. They're just like, nope, don't ask. It's just too soon. Right. We're not doing it. And so I'd be very surprised if these events even fired, like if they went, and I'd be surprised if people went to them, because I've seen people say like, it's great you're doing this, I'm just not going. Like everybody has their threshold of what they're willing to do.
Over the summer, I think that's correct. I think that you're not going to see any events in June. You're not going to see any events in July. I think you're going to start seeing events dip their toes in August.
Right. The real question is Gen Con. What is Gen Con going to do? Gen Con is a multi-million dollar thing. This is not a decision
Gen Con is
also
lightly. Ground zero. Like, raise your hand if you've gone to Gen Con and not gotten sick afterwards. Like, I love Gen Con, to be clear. I'm not being shady, but I've never come back from Gen Con healthy. I always have con crud. So if you're already like in a breeding ground for that sort of thing, I don't want to be in a petri dish where now COVID is in the mix.
I think that there's a couple of things at play here. First of all, you're going to start seeing smaller events like your lakeside festivals start getting toyed with.
Also outside festivals.
Outside festivals. Mm-hmm. You're going to start seeing, there's going to be people, or there's going to be events for Independence Day. There's going to be. I'm telling you. There's
going to be barbecues and things happening at that point.
Yeah, but outdoors is different.
Outdoors is different. I think that my LARP has a decent shot of having an event in July. Do I think it's going to happen? It's like a 30% chance. I think that a lot also depends on where does the C word we don't say on this podcast go from here?
Right.
What does the
vaccinations are increasing. Like we are crushing it in vaccine rollout. We're going way past 100 million in the first 100 days. We're crushing it.
And that's great, but none of them have been approved by the FDA yet. They've all been given emergency whatever. They've been given emergency permissions. So none of them have gone through the full
you're kind of heading into like weird anti-vax territory here. Like
these are from safe. My dad, who's an immunologist. But I think that we're still in a positive place. Obviously, I'm going to wait until I get a vaccination until I go do anything. And
there were trials. It's not like they just randomly gave this and we're glad it worked. There was science behind it.
In our garage.
No. It's not like they just were like, hey. This snake oil is a COVID vaccine. That's not what I'm saying. Sure. But I do think that bigger events, the biggest events, Gen Con, Comic Con, are going to have a much larger microscope on them. And they need to be more careful than even Origins. I mean, Gen Con is 5 times bigger than Origins.
Oh, yeah, easily. So let's move on and talk about magical cards some more. Over here on the Blogatog, where Mark Rosewater has his 37th outlet of talking to people, because he's incredible like that. I don't know, someone asked, I don't know if you can answer it already, but Strixhaven will focus on enemy color pairs. Will there be any allied colored pairs in the set? He goes, nope.
Wow.
Not going to happen. Not since Shadowmoor have we seen it's just enemy colors all day. So
sure.
Here we go. I'll take it.
I mean, it's good to get that verified. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that changes anybody's life in any way, but it's nice to know.
You know, there is a see if I can get it up here on the screen here. Come on now. All right. There's bling. I mean, there's things you can impress people with because you have a really cool cube. There's things that you can get, in terms of foils and unique promos and stuff like that. And then there's this. This is like the what do they call the Tyrannosaurus Rex scrambled egg breakfast of cube rares, cube foils, which is a textless test print lightning bolt.
Test print.
This thing has to be worth $1 bajillion. Like, there has to be multiple cars involved to try to buy this thing at some point.
This is to certify the Textless foil, which accompanies the certificate is genuine. The card listed was produced in or around 98 as a preparation and test for the first foil Magic set. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
As few as 3 or 4 and as many as 100 exist.
Did you see that post, I think, that Ben Bleweis had he had tweeted this, where the exact number of Alpha Black Lotuses that were out there were only 1,000.
That was Peter Atkinson had a conversation.
Yes. I thought that was interesting.
Did we have that in the show notes coming up?
Not exactly. He noted here that he said the alpha print run for Magic the Gathering was 26,060 card starter decks and 70,000 15-card boosters, which would equate to 2.61 million cards. The beta print run for Magic was 78,060 card starter decks and 210,000 15-card boosters for a total of 7.83 million cards. That means 10.44 million cards for the limited edition of Magic, which also means there are 1,008 Alpha Black Lotuses printed.
Wow. It's so funny because I was talking to my boyfriend the other day, and he doesn't normally he doesn't really play these formats, and he looked at me in the cutest way and he goes, "So how many Lotuses are there?" Because I was like, that's a good question. And it's so funny that this came up there because he had asked me, and I'd never thought about it before. I was talking about, how we all go to Eternal Weekend and we have access to these cards. And he's like, there can't be enough Lotuses for everybody. And I was like, well, yeah, there are.
Right. Well, the problem, the thing is there's only so many that go, which is good. And again, you think of only 252 people back in the day could have had alpha sets of Lotuses, but there weren't play sets back then. Back then it was, you played whatever you found and maybe you had one. Maybe
there's Alpha Revise. You can get a Revised Lotus, right?
Well, there's Alpha, Beta, Unlimited.
Yeah, Unlimited.
Those are the 3 sets you can get Lotuses in.
Okay, so there's enough Lotuses out there. It's fine.
There's not. There's not. I'm just saying. That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard all show.
But the big thing for this that I thought was interesting was that the estimates were close, but there's actually about 10% fewer Alpha Lotuses than the estimates had predicted.
This is a question, moving on here to the next topic here. I can tell you right now that the sales for the Challenger decks are terrible. They're really, really bad. It turns out when you make a product that's made to be played at events and there are no events,
that makes sense.
Sells like trash.
Well, it also feels like they've pulled back a little bit. I remember that first batch of Challenger decks where it was mono red. You had mono red. You had Approach of the Second Sun. Those things were stacked. And then
Mardu Vehicles was half rare.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason they were like, oh, this thing was successful. Let's screw it up. And it was like, why?
Then the next year they did 2 Jade Light Rangers and they made they 2 Jade Light Ranger this, and I was really pissed off about that. And then they kind of swung back a little bit. But this year, obviously with everything going on, I don't know when the final decision was made to make these decks, to solicit them and yada, yada, yada. But if there was any year that I feel you probably could have skipped pretty easily, was probably 2021's Challenger
I disagree.
decks.
I think that, I've said this before, but, I'm not normally a pre-release person. And since the pandemic has started, I have bought pre-release packs more because that is something for me and my boyfriend to do when we are stuck in the house. And so even though you can't necessarily go to events, if you're already tired of, if you've already played the pre-release decks, if you've already played the 2-person, Commander pre-cons, it is something for people to do. So I wouldn't think they're completely useless right now.
while Wizards is trying to get the webcam Magic, particularly webcam paper Magic, trying up and running with the spell table stuff. I mean, again, this was the product that I would buy every year and play an FNM. I would never play an FNM except like this 1 or 2 weeks where I could actually buy a real deck that has the whole sideboard and everything. I can just buy some sleeves and sleeve it up and go. But this year, I'm not buying this thing because I got nowhere to play it.
That's fair, but I do think, like I said, there is an audience out there that is stuck at home and is looking for things to do, and this is another product that they can buy to do that and get something else for them, as opposed to the Commanders, as opposed to the sealed pre-releases. Oh, sweetie, let's buy a thing and play Standard.
What I see this happening right now, currently, just on the business end of it, is that they're all going to be opened and they're going to be sold for singles because there's just no one.
I mean, that happens with a lot of product anyway, though. I think that those people were always going to buy this product. The people who are going to buy it to play Standard at home, there are less of those than buy the pre-release packs to play at home, than buy the Commander stuff to play at home.
And there's not 3,000 game stores offering you an event on Friday night where this is the perfect thing to buy for it. Like, that doesn't exist right now.
Right. I think that you're right that the sales of this product, when compared especially to other Magic products, are going to be lower this year than in other years.
Yeah.
I also agree with Aaron that there are still people out there that want to have this kind of experience with Magic the Gathering. And so I think that I think you're both right. I think if there was a year to skip this product, this was the year. But also, why skip a year? Why not just keep the consistency going?
Because the product's not selling very well. I'm not saying that stores can't turn it into something that makes money for them. I'm saying that the product release as an idea, as a concept, I think was a bad idea this year, and it's really showing in that it doesn't sell very well.
Okay.
Moving on here, there is there's a member of the community here, Kristoff Prinz, and they have a fascinating master's thesis. The link is there in the chat. The link is on the show notes if you listen to the podcast. Thesis.kprinz.de has one of the most fascinating little things I've ever seen. The idea, you'll answer sort of some initial questions, but the whole goal of this thesis is to show you board states and then see if you can memorize them and put them back exactly the way they showed them to you.
Oh my God.
And they do it there's 10, maybe 12 board states. By the time it was over, I was I can't remember anything. And they even ask you at the end of the survey, they said, did you take it all at once? Or did you pause because you can kind of pause and come back? Because it is mentally taxing after a while to try to remember, wait, there was 2 copies of that land. One was tapped, one was untapped. There was this, that, and the other all over the board. And I'm not sure how it's going to work into their thesis, but it sounds absolutely fascinating. And for a Magic player,
ask of people that are just trying to keep it together during a pandemic.
Oh, exactly. I know. It turned into a higher ask, and I was ready. I was like, we'll do a board state.
I can't even tell you. I might have worn this outfit this week. I couldn't tell you.
I can't tell you how long my Hungry Man is supposed to be in the oven for after I throw the box away. Mm-hmm. I have to go back to the recycling bin and be like, 11 minutes, thanks.
Yeah.
You're Hungry Man.
I was trying to think of what the funniest reference there would be. So I decided Hungry Man was where
you don't like a Hungry Man?
I just haven't bought one. I just thought it was a funny reference.
Okay, I like a Hungry Man.
There you go.
Aaron, please.
And the TV dinner.
Moving on.
We all know what we were talking
about. Desperate.
They're not going hungry.
Ravings. All right. Okay. So, Wizards of the Coast Director of Esports and Play Programs, Bear Watson, has announced he's leaving Wizards to pursue new opportunities in games, quote unquote.
We hardly knew ye. Let's be honest.
Can I, speaking of which, can I ask a question about Bear Watson and more specifically about this job?
Okay.
Is this the person, or is this the job, to blame for or to give credit for the removal of the Pro Tour?
I don't know. I think we're because of the pandemic took away so much as it was, you know what I mean? It's such a weird combination of factors.
Yeah.
Because the problem was that what I've been hearing for years is that Wizards wants to go all digital. Wizards doesn't like tabletop. And even though they're selling lots of paper, they don't care about organized play like big tournaments, big money tournaments, stuff like that. They want to push Commander, Bandfest, High Five, big Magic grouping events. But in terms of hey, here's the best Magic player in the world. and whatever, who cares? But we care, and that's great, but not everyone does. And so this Mayor Watson came in, was previously at Riot Games, and to me this sounded like, what's the narrative, right? The narrative is Riot's crushing it in coverage, Riot's crushing it in streaming, Riot's crushing it in events and showcasing events and stuff. Let's bring this person over who's worked in that environment, who knows that environment, give them time to set things up, and it didn't work. And
I think it's also
the audience is the same as it always was.
I think it's also difficult to gauge what he did when we knew very little about him. Like, one thing that this position has really struggled with since Helene left is we don't know anything about these people. And Helene was an exception to the rule. Like, let's be clear. We don't expect them to be as open as Helene was, because Helene went above and beyond in terms of how open she was and the lines of communication that she established with the community. So I'm not saying that they need to follow that template, but in the last couple of people to fill that role have really just kind of come and gone with very little fanfare, very little introduction. And so we don't really know what they were brought in for. We don't really know what they do. We don't really know the scope. And so I just found it so fascinating. Like, I'm reading his sort of like farewell, and he's like, I walked into Magic a stranger. You're leaving a stranger. Like, no shade, but like, we know very little about you, dude. And so the idea that he's making it sound like this great parting love, it was just like, who are you? Like,
and I understand, that it's hard being a public person in Magic, particularly from Wizards' side, that you're going to get a lot of, hate and vitriol and anger and whatever coming your way, regardless of the fact you're making good decisions or bad decisions. And, Helene dealt with that obviously for years and years.
Sure.
And he clearly wanted to be in the background, but the problem is that, of all the things that they did, they took away the Hall of Fame. It was supposed to come back at some point. Apparently this guy was in charge of it. God knows when that's going to happen. The Pro Tours are gone right now. The MPL is just like straight suffering. Like, the MPL, like, all of the people are unhappy. Like, you see their tweets. We talked about it last week. They're in this league format that they don't want.
The audience doesn't care. Like, no one's watching it. Nobody's. Nope. You look at the engagement on the tweets there, and no one's retweeting it. No one's liking it. No one's responding to it. I mean, that whole system is on life support right now.
Oh yeah, and I don't think like Wizards is basically, like, I'm not saying it's set up to fail, but it's definitely not set up to succeed in many ways. Sure. Because the way they've set it up is
Bear was set up to fail.
It's possible. Like, the thing is that you're not going to inherently make Magic more fun to watch, like, necessarily. Like, Arena is going to be nice, but there was also something that they clearly didn't respect in watching real life Magic play and being, it's exciting to watch John Finkel play Magic, to watch Reed Duke play Magic. It's not exciting to watch them click a mouse. It's not exciting to watch them wear a headset. Well, this is not Counter-Strike. It's not League of Legends.
Well, it's that, and the issue that I've talked about before is that Wizards has always seemed like they want it both ways, where, they want one foot in the esports world and they want one foot in the Magic world. And, it seems like they're really hesitant to go all in, where it's like, if you want to be an esport, you need to put both feet across the line. And I think we have yet to see them really commit to that. And so when you're bringing somebody in who appears to be from Riot, who appears to have both feet in digital, I can understand how, if he comes to this thinking, all right, we're all in on digital, and they're like, like, I'm not saying
and
that's
then
what
they don't give them the funding. They
or just
don't give them
the commitment to that. Where if you're going to bring in esports people, you gotta be all in on that, and they have yet to really put everything in that esports basket.
I feel like they did give it, like, they gave it a pretty good go, at least at the very, very beginning. Remember when they bought the 100,000 views or whatever? Yeah. Like, that was serious
but that's not
budget.
Committing to it, though.
It's hired Sir Mix-a-Lot. They got an ad on the Game
It's like
Awards.
Kissing a girl in college. It's like, well, I'm just going to experiment with esports, and it's like, but you're not going to be about it, though. You're just
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm explaining is what little they did, where they went as far as they did, to me, was they tried to make these events 6-figure viewership events, hell or high water. They don't care if they have to pay for it. And they did. They got it to 100,000 views or 120 or whatever it was during the finale. And high five, congratulations. And the problem is when they turned off, the advertising spigot and they couldn't pay for all of the embedded views anymore, it's the same damn audience that's been there for years. And if anything, it's only gotten smaller.
So you're saying that even the investment they made into that big show ultimately wasn't worth it?
It wasn't worth a damn thing. And I mean, I feel for it, because I hate that, we're getting more and more removed, like just day after day, more and more removed from the meritocracy, sort of the very straight line of the winner of so-and-so is why such and such is here, to it's so blurred as, well, this person was a pretty cool streamer and I liked how they did this one thing in this weird special promo event.
But when you put it down to to brass tacks, when you take it down to the lowest denominator, that's not the word I want. When you go to Chris Cox and you say, this is how Magic is making money. We're selling Magic cards like hotcakes. Great, right. Print more Magic cards. Do they care about the foiling process? No. Then don't change the foiling process. Right. Are we making money from live Magic? No. Then cut the funding. Like, it's very easy to see what the lines are.
Right.
And also, Bear was in this generation of complete outsiders who had nothing to do with Magic, and they were like, oh, you did sorcery with Riot. Cool, go do sorcery with Magic. And it didn't work. Right, because Magic isn't League of Legends. You know, right. They didn't give the full support behind these people that they thought could perform miracles, maybe, or were hoping could perform.
And
miracles.
In the meantime, they're just making like sick money, like stupid money. Sure. Their profit margins are absolutely absurd. They're the best profit margins in Hasbro, as far as I know. They did nothing but brag how they grew 23% over the past year, and coverage got worse, and events got worse. Events got canceled. Events went away, and they've done nothing but grow and grow and grow. And there's it's the same thing. Like when I hear Wizards saying, like, there's a lot of conversation about whether or not we should do another Walking Dead type Secret Lair, and I'm like, no, there wasn't. Are you kidding me? It's the best selling one. It was such a slam dunk. Who's on the other side of that argument? Right. Like that poor sap. Was destroyed in 2 seconds.
We can be all woe is us. We aren't going to get the Pro Tour. We aren't going to get the Hall of Fame. We aren't going to get this. We aren't going to get that. They don't care. The money's the game's going to survive. It's going to change shape. It's going to be, Commander drives the bus now,
and it has been driving for a while.
And Arena drives the bus now, and those are going to go like hotcakes. But the competitive scene not going to do it.
Yeah, that's just that's a reality, unfortunately, that we get to deal with. All right, so that said, moving on here to I don't want to talk about the reserve list other than it sucks and I hate it. Yeah, I will note that it's really weird that we were talking on Twitter this week about how there was a sealed qualifier on Arena, but they don't have sealed on Arena to actually play test with.
Interesting.
So, the big event this weekend is sealed. You can't play sealed leading up to it, even though you would have to pay Wizards to play sealed. Wizards, look. Wizards has a very classic problem, okay? And it's across many, many businesses, don't get me wrong. But this is the singular problem I have heard about Wizards from the day I heard one thing about Wizards to literal last week. Wizards has a communication problem. Nobody talks to anybody else in that company. That is the narrative. It may not be true. I'm just telling you what we see, because we see something like this where clearly there was people who are planning the big events and making sure the big tournaments happen, and then there's other people who are planning what's going on in Magic Arena and what events Magic Arena has, and they're not talking to each other. It's really simple.
Well, they talk to people, they stay in their lane. So they talk to people who are in their lane.
Their lane ain't
if it's even remotely not your lane.
Yeah, no. But then the fact that it's so stringent like that leads to big problems all the time. So you're not wrong. Rough. It's just it's wrong. It's silly.
It's silly. So I'll move on here to Splash Damage. I wanted to note about Artifact, the card game Artifact on Steam.
Wow, that's a thing still, apparently.
Like, it's amazing you can go through our history as a podcast, hearing about Artifact, talking about Artifact. This was Richard Garfield's new game they've been working on. This was League of Legends. This was, this was Steam. They're Valve. They're going to crush it. It's going to have $1 million tournament that never even happened. It's going to have gameplay that turned out to be like a huge slog, and now it's free. It's sad. It's free and it's sad, and I don't know what else to think about that.
It was the next big thing that never was.
And unfortunately, and this is even more, this isn't really Splash Damage, but this is, they made another game called Underlords that I'm a huge fan of. It's an auto battler where you set up your guys and you get go and it happens. Nice. And it's a super cool game. It's just that like 3 or 4 months ago, they decided to never touch it again. And they've just been completely crickets on that game, just like they were crickets about Artifact, except when they finally said something, it's dead now. And we're gone. So God knows how much money was flushed down the drain for Artifact.
Yeah,
pour one out. Yeah. I hope Garfield got his, as it were.
Yeah.
Let's move on, Turning the corner to the finisher. The MTG cosplay community gave us yet another viral hashtag this week with hashtag MTG Disney. So Mike's Cotiers without getting sued by the mouse or taken down by the DCO or DMCA, sing me your best, most magical The Gathering place on Earth cover. Aaron?
Okay, I cannot sing, but I'm going to preface this, so here we go. Look at this deck. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my 75's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything I want to be? Where the unbannings are, out of the sea. Wish I could be playing Grave Troll.
Yay!
Excellent.
I need my shell bra. I need...
Ayo.
Let's get down to business to go on good runs. Did I top deck 4 drops when I asked for ones? It's the saddest draw I've ever met, but you can bet before we're through, Mr. I'll make the top 8 with Zoo.
Certain as the sun rising in the east, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, I need 3 lands at least.
I'd actually forgotten that Evan was like a real life
Evan
musician
can sing.
for a minute.
Evan made me cry. Fun story. I love to tell this. So, when Frozen came out, Evan used to have a super secret SoundCloud with like his music on it, and he did a song about Shaheen Sarani, and it was like, it
was Brad Nelson.
Right. It was like, do you want to build Control or something? It literally moved me to tears. I was at work and I don't even like Frozen. Like I had no attachment to the music or anything, but I heard Evan sing that and I was just sitting in my cube crying. And I was like, so yeah, Evan can really sing.
Well, thank you so much. SoundCloud.com/Evan Irwin. And
There
you'll
we go.
find
There you go.
all of my stuff.
For when
Feel
you go
free to check it
viral
out.
on Twitter, it's like, well, check out my SoundCloud.
That's right.
But
It's
not
right
the
there.
way he has been. Just...
Hey now.
Thanks.
And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Ruben.
Bye, Wednesdays. Love you.
Bye, you're fine.
It's Thursdays now.
Final slide for the final time on Wednesday night.
That's right. Thursday next week, everybody. Thursday.
And we move here to the final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and our newest sponsor, Alter Sleeves. Get yours at altersleeves.com/magicmikes. My co-hosts, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week. Same time, same place. Actually, no. Join us here next week. Thursday, same time, same place. Thursday for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.